All right, we are recording, Ethan.
Last year, my family moved from Ontario, Canada to the US. And let me tell you, it is not fun being the new kid, especially in a school 4 times bigger than my last one. Navigating the packed halls was a survival effort in itself. In fact, on the first day, clearly not understanding the flow of traffic, I found myself bobbing and weaving through the crowd. That was until a giant plowed into me. I mean, he must have been 6'7", 275 pounds. And me, well, after peeling myself off the floor and dusting myself off, what did I do? Did I yell at him for his clear inability to walk? Did I pick a fight with the arguably most giant human I had ever seen? No. No, I did not. I apologized. I apologized after he bumped into me. What did I get in return? Nothing. I got nothing. Yep, he had the audacity to knock me off my feet and not apologize. Now, of course, as a Canadian, this horrified me. Apologizing is the norm for us. In fact, we're famous for it. The word sorry is so insignificant that it just comes out of our mouths before we even know we're saying it. But there's a larger concern. And I'm worried that our relationships are suffering due to our inability to express truly meaningful apologies. And whether you're from Canada, America, Brazil, or Zimbabwe, we first must address our common habit of over-apologizing, then our infuriating half-apologies, and finally, our simple refusal to apologize at all. So I ask you, what if we committed to turning our apologies into expressions of value rather than habit? Today, we'll find out as we take an unapologetic look at the important act of saying, I'm sorry. 2 simple words, sometimes impossible to say, and other times way too easy. We throw them around like confetti. I'm sorry, could you point me to the, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? But the truth is, over-apologizing is a self-deprecating habit that should not be taken lightly. According to Dr. Melody Wilding, professor of human behavior at Hunter College, excessively saying sorry when you don't need to is a bad habit that undermines your authority, and more importantly, it hurts your self-esteem. To be honest with you all, I have been insecure for as long as I can remember. Actually, scratch that. I've been insecure since middle school. Definitely since middle school. It's no wonder with my seemingly constant voice cracks and insane hair days. But when it comes to speaking up in class or expressing a different opinion, I shouldn't apologize for having an idea. And neither should you or anyone. Because when we excessively apologize, even if it is just to be polite, we lose our credibility by exposing our insecurity. We want to be confident, but not conceited. Assertive, but not bossy. I want to take a break becomes, I'm sorry, would it be okay if we take a break? I was next in line becomes, I'm sorry, but I think I was next. The result? Too much apologizing for speaking up, having an opinion, or simply occupying space. Dr. Wilding also says that these too frequent, unnecessary apologies dilute the power of the phrase and actually weaken the impact of future apologies, the ones we should be making for things within our control for which we are truly at fault. On the opposite end of the spectrum, though, is the much worse habit of not apologizing at all due to arrogance and defensiveness. Look, it is human nature to perceive ourselves as amazing people who can do no wrong. But this arrogance hinders the one mindset needed in an apology. Summarized beautifully by psychologist Renee Garfinkel, apologizing is difficult because it requires humility. We must be humble enough to accept the outlandish idea that we can make mistakes. Instead of risking that vulnerability, we make excuses, shift the blame, or act as if we did nothing at all. What does all of this toxic emotion lead to? Oftentimes something known as a defensive apology, something I think we're all guilty of. Licensed therapist Claire Price explains that defensive apologies shift the focus from our bad behavior to the other person's feelings towards it. My older brother was this type of apologizer. he could not muster a genuine apology for the life of him. I vividly remember the countless times I received this type of apology. I'm sorry you felt sad after I flushed your goldfish down the toilet. What is he apologizing for? His genuine regret for being a heartless murderer? Or my inconsolable grief upon losing my beloved goldfish? I was 6. When it comes to apologies, it's clear. We can and should do better. According to Harvard Health, an apology is often the first step towards repairing a damaged relationship. When we apologize to the person we wrong, we acknowledge their pain, and they can begin the process of emotional healing. But it is not until we let down our walls and embrace humility that we can break our bad habits and truly apologize. Something that is vital to healthy, supportive interactions with the people we care about most. One of the people I care about most is my dad. I wish he could have said the same about his father. When my dad was just 2 years old, my grandfather abandoned his family. For years, my father was conflicted, confused, and hurt. At the age of 12, though, he heard a knock on the door. Opening it, there stood my grandpa. A man who had been gone for over a decade had finally come back. He wrapped his arms around my dad and said the words he'd been waiting so long to hear. I'm sorry for leaving you. Unfortunately, this reunion was just a dream inside my father's head. My grandpa wasn't outside that door. When my dad was 12, my grandpa had died in a car crash, killed by a drunk driver. If he had ever dreamed about reuniting with his son, if he had ever even considered apologizing for disappearing from his life, he waited too long. In order to forgive, my dad needed to hear the words, "I'm sorry." But he never got them, and he never will. And so I want to ask you all, is there an important relationship in your life that needs repair? Is there an apology that you've been putting off for too long? Do what my grandfather didn't do. Do what my dad had always hoped for, before it's too late. I have talked so much about meaningful apologies, and yet I haven't even brought up how to make one. I'm sorry. Wait, no, I'm not. Anyways, it's a lot easier than you think. Psychotherapist Beverly Engel explains that there are 3 components to a sincere apology, which she calls the 3 R's: responsibility, regret, remedy. First, we must recognize that our actions hurt the other person, and that we know what we did was wrong, or else the rest of the apology means nothing. I'm sorry for taking my anger out on you after we lost the tournament. Next, regret. An apology needs to acknowledge that we are sorry for what we did. Not just that we know how we hurt them, but we are remorseful for it. I feel really badly for talking to you like that. It was unfair. And lastly, remedy. How are we going to make the situation right? How are we going to make it up to the person we hurt? There isn't one right answer, but there does need to be an answer. We need to promise to take a step in the right direction so that it will not happen again. I will try to be more mature in the future and not take my stress out on you. Thank you for being patient with me. With these 3 steps, I promise you your apologies will be better than ever before. Responsibility, regret, remedy. Though society as a whole will always struggle with saying, "I'm sorry," if we apologize with sincerity and vulnerability, then our relationships, whether it be with a family member, coworker, or friend, will be better for it. Oh, and I'm sure you'd all be happy to know that now, when gargantuan football players bump into me in the hallway, I do not pointlessly apologize. And for that, I'm anything but sorry. Thank you.